So you're hearing all this stuff on the media, maybe you're looking on YouTube and you keep hearing about this market crash coming in Florida and you're wondering, what's the real story? Stick around, you're not going to want to miss this video. My name is Megan Schoner. I'm a local real estate agent here on the Treasure Coast, and I love helping my buyers and sellers just like you find your home or sell your home here on the Treasure Coast. So if you're looking in the next 9 days, 90 days, next year or two, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to be a resource for you. My cell phone and email are listed below. To dive right into this video today, I keep hearing from a lot of people on YouTube that are watching my channel and saying, I don't know, should I buy in the market? I'm trying to time the market out right, and I just keep hearing all about this market crash. What's going on in the market? So I wanted to break down for you specifically what we're seeing here on the Treasure Coast, which is Martin and St. Lucie County, specifically the Port St. Lucie city within St. Lucie County. So what we are currently seeing is we are seeing an increase in the inventory, so the available number of homes. The reason for that is in our area specifically, we are one of the areas that still has land to the west of us, and we can still build. So we have a lot of new construction communities that are in the area, as well as some of the builders that are building on spot lots. So we have a lot of inventory coming on with the new construction. In addition, we do have homes that are currently, for sale. One of the things that I get from a lot of my sellers are saying, why is everybody, leaving Florida? Am I missing something? Why are there so many homes that are on the market? Florida is a very transient area. There's a lot of people that move here to retire. They get down here. Maybe it's not what they thought. Maybe, one of their loved ones passes away and they need to move closer to family. As people age, they want to be closer to family. Sometimes grandkids are born and people want to move closer to family. Other times people move here for jobs, or they think Florida is going to be this wonderful mecca of, what they wanted for retirement, and they get down here and realize, it's not all that it's cracked up to be, and they move. So we have a lot of people constantly moving in and out of the area, and that's, I think, different from other parts of the country, maybe where you're born and raised and everybody stays in that same area. Here we have a lot of people that move in and out, and we did see a lot of that during the COVID era. So we were one of the states that was free and open. The kids were back at school. We could be out at the beach and on the boats. So a lot of people during that time were able to work remotely. They moved down to Florida. Now what we're seeing is a lot of these companies are calling their workers back to the offices, and people are having to sell their homes here in Florida. Another thing to take into consideration is in our area, there's a lot of second homes for people. So with the increases in the insurance and taxes, and especially in the condo market, a lot of people are saying, with all the different assessments they've had for these milestone projects, I want to sell my second home. Maybe I want to travel more and I'm not using the vacation home as much as I thought. So that's another reason why some of the homes are coming back on the market. So the current number of homes that we have specifically here in Port St. Lucie is 2,145. So if we compare that to where we were back in the pandemic, where we had about 800 homes, it seems daunting and seems like we're going in the wrong direction. However, if we look at that in comparison, basically back in 2008, actually we had more homes on the market at that time. So really it's just a comparison, kind of a correction for everything that happened during the pandemic. We do definitely have more homes that are on the market. We're about 20 to 25% more homes on the market than we previously had last year. The other reason too is the homes always that are on the market, they're sitting for a little bit longer. And that is because we have a lot of buyers. We have to keep in consideration that the buyers that purchased during the pandemic had interest rates of 2 to 3%. So a lot of those buyers that would normally be what we call our move-up buyers, their families have expanded, they'd want something a little bit larger. They're not moving into these newer homes. They're sitting in the homes that they currently are because they don't want to lose that interest rate. So that is putting kind of a strain on in terms of the number of homes that are being purchased. One of the things that's interesting about our area, again, with it being a lot of second home purchases, over 35% of the homes that are purchased with cash. You kind of have to play into effect in some, and that's going to be in some of the 55 and older communities and some of the other different areas in our community, that it's going to be sometimes as high as 50% of people that are buying with cash. But that is definitely a factor of why the homes are not being purchased as quickly. So one of the questions that I get is, are home prices declining? What we were seeing is basically with COVID in our area, the home prices on average basically doubled. What we're seeing now is we're seeing a slight correction in terms of the pricing, but we're not seeing anything go back to near the levels that they were, pre-pandemic. So the good thing is you're seeing a lot of, if you're a buyer, it's a great time to purchase. I always like to let people know. So what happens in our area is season starts basically the months of January, February, and March. So that's when we get all of our snowbirds in here, a lot of the spring breakers, a lot of family visiting. And so the the sellers will list their homes. Usually January is our biggest listing month, and then a lot of the buyers are purchasing by March before they go back for the season. So the home prices are elevated slightly during this first quarter with the snowbird season. If you are a buyer, I would say definitely start. We've got a really good advantage right now because the sellers have had a slower season in terms of the number of sales than we typically do. I equate that more to the uncertainty in the market with all these tariffs that we have, and then also the condo market has really suffered a lot with the regulations that are needed from the Surfside condo and all the assessments and milestone projects that these associations are having to do. The condo market is really getting hit pretty hard right now. But in terms of single family homes, there's just a lot of uncertainty, with, are we going into a recession, all the tariffs that are coming, and people are kind of holding back. Plus they're watching a lot of stuff on YouTube, and people are advising, the market's crashing, don't buy yet. So we've had a softer season than we typically do. Sellers are definitely feeling that, and I'm starting to see more sellers being a little bit more realistic about where the pricing needs to be. On average, we're still getting about 95% of the list price. Definitely sellers are definitely negotiable at this point. So I think that's different than in some other markets. Currently in our area, we are seeing days on market close to 55 to 60 days. So about 2 months for a home to sit on the market is very average in our area. In terms of the inventory supply, we're sitting at about 6 months. Typically 0 to 4 months is considered a seller's market. 4 to 6 months is considered a balanced market. And then anything over 6 months is considered a buyer's market. So the fact that we're sitting right at 6 months, we definitely are feeling more of a shift than we were before COVID. During that time, they put a house in the market and it would get multiple offers and it would fly off the market. Right now, that's not the case. So if you are a buyer, it is a really good time. The sellers are much more open to lower offers. I've seen a lot of sellers giving concessions, 2 to 3 to 4% closing cost concessions to help a buyer out. Prices, I have seen sellers come down $20,000, $40,000 on some of the prices. So if you're looking to buy in the market right now, it's not a bad time to try out some lower offers and just see what the sellers, what they say, or if they counter back. So one of the things I think that's different about our area here on the Treasure Coast versus other areas in Florida, there's a weird phenomenon. I don't know if this is just on the East Coast of Florida. That's my expertise. This is where I work and live. But people will move north. They don't move south. So somebody coming from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, is going to move up to our area in Port St. Lucie, but someone in Port St. Lucie is not going to move further south to like Boca Raton or Miami. I think it's because we're more affordable. The further north you go, usually the more affordable it gets, and it's a little bit quieter. So a lot of people are looking to escape further down south and they want to move up here. So I feel, and what I'm seeing as a real estate agent here, is that we still are kind of in that bubble where people are still moving to the area. We are still more affordable. We're 2 hours from Miami, 2 hours from Orlando. We're right on the Atlantic Ocean. So we've got the Atlantic Ocean coast that we're on. We are not in a flood zone, so our insurance premiums aren't as high as some of the other areas. You still can get a lot of new construction, and the pricing here is still much more affordable than it is down south. And because we haven't had the hurricanes hit us, we're getting a lot of people from the west coast of Florida that have been hit really hard with hurricanes the last couple of years. Maybe their homes have been destroyed, or they just don't want to deal with it anymore, or they have red tide over on their coast, and so they're moving to our coast as well too. The other thing too is that I think makes our area a little bit more attractive maybe than some other areas is our weather. Even though people are saying don't move to Florida, the market's going to crash, we're still in South Florida. We still have fantastic, gorgeous weather. It's March and it's in the low 80s and sunny, beautiful blue skies. So what I'm seeing from some of my other buyers that are moving down here, maybe they purchased in northern Florida or in Georgia or South Carolina. They wanted to do a lot of golfing, but they realized after they moved there that it's cold there in the winter. So that's one thing you can never really take away from our area here is the beautiful beaches, the gorgeous weather, all the boating lifestyle, and easy access to a lot of these different areas. So we still are seeing a lot of growth here. So even though you hear a lot of gloom and doom about the real estate market crashing here in Florida, I just don't see it. I know I'm a real estate agent, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. I do think that we're seeing more of a slowdown, more of a correction in terms of pricing, but I don't see a real estate market crash anytime soon. We have to keep in consideration that the last market crash that we had in 07, 08 was because of the mortgage industry and the fact that people had no equity in their homes, and the banks were just loaning money out to anybody, and people just got themselves in predicaments where they couldn't sustain it. So that's not the case anymore. And then we're also reacting to COVID, which the interest rates were historically low because they were trying to move the economy, not realizing that everybody was sitting at home, bored silly, looking at their four walls and realizing, oh my gosh, I got to get out of here and get into a bigger home or someplace with more space or land, or I can work remotely, let's move to Florida. So I think those two factors that we had historically are not in play here at all. I think right now we're just doing a market correction. It's a great time for buyers. People are still buying and selling every single day, but we just have to be a little bit more patient in this current market. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to continue this conversation further. So to go over some stats here on the Treasure Coast, what we're seeing kind of year over year is the month's supply of inventory has definitely increased. Last year it was 4.7 months. Now we're up to 6.3 months. Total inventory of homes for sale, and this is on the Treasure Coast, so not specifically in Port St. Lucie, is 4,626 homes, and that's up about 29.1% from last year. And the number of new listings is up slightly, up 20%, 1,672 homes that are for sale. The good news is the pending sales are also up. That's up about 3%. Like I had mentioned earlier, our median time to contract is 50% from last year, so that's really where sellers are really seeing this difference where their homes are just sitting on the market longer. So median time on contract was 51 days versus 34 days the year prior. But what I think is interesting is the number of closed sales. Neither single family homes on the Treasure Coast was 486 versus last year at this time 463. So we're up 5% in terms of the number of closed sales. And the median sales prices, this is where everyone keeps talking about, oh, the market's crashing, it's crashing. We're only down 3.7% in terms of the sales price. So last year it was $399,950. Right now it's $385,000. So not huge differences. I mean, the percentages may seem a little bit high, but again, when you take in consideration that, pre-COVID, we're up, double digits, almost double the sales price on a lot of these homes. So to take a little 3 or 4% decrease is significant, but it's not an overwhelming, the market's crashing. And so what you'll see in the next chart is the historical inventory of homes for sale by month. So if we look back in 2008, you'll see that the light blue line is single family homes, and this is from the Florida Association of Realtors. We were during the real market crash, our single family homes, we had close to over 7,000 single family homes on the market. Currently, again, like I mentioned before, now we're up to 4,626. So when you look at it, it does sound significant, but if you look at it over the last couple decades, you'll see that really back in line with how we've been basically from, I would say 2013 on, 2020, and then all of a sudden you'll see in 21 it dips, 22 it dips, and then it kind of pops back up in 2023, 2024, and 2025 kind of is back in line. So I think it's really more of just a correction in the market more than a slowdown or a crash. And so on this next chart, the historical median sales price by month, you'll see what I was talking about, where if you look back at 2008, 2009, 2010, really even through, I would say even, 15, 16, you've got an average sales price definitely under that 200,000 mark. 2017, it kind of hits, 200,000. And then ever since then, it jumps way up. If you look at like 2022, 2023, we're over the 400,000 mark, and the home prices are still, hovering around that $200,000 price mark. So we're not seeing these huge dips that everyone keeps talking about, but I do think it's a great time to, if you are thinking about a move to Florida, the sellers are ripe for, the houses have been sitting on the market longer than they were expecting, and sellers are definitely a lot more negotiable in this market than we have seen in the previous years. So specifically here in Port St. Lucie, and again, this is January of 2025 versus last year, but our median sales price actually didn't decrease that much. We went down less than 0.5%. So our average sales price here in Port St. Lucie for single family homes was $413,400 versus $415,000. We are still getting about 95% of the list price, and that's pretty consistent with last year. The difference is, like I had mentioned, and you see kind of in the region in general, that the days on market has increased. That was 47 days last year, and now it's up to 65 days. So if you see a home that's sitting on the market for 2 months, there's really nothing wrong with the home. That's pretty average for our market here. The pending sales has increased. The new homes, again, new listings have increased about 15%. And the inventory of homes for sale has also increased. So we're about 19% above where we were last year in terms of the number of homes. But again, we also have a lot of new construction, so you have to take that into consideration as well too. So if you are looking to find your home here on the Treasure Coast, specifically in Port St. Lucie, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to help you find your treasure of a home here on the Treasure Coast.